What's up everybody, Fortexfiend here. Welcome back to my channel with another video on SD Gundam G Generation Eternal. So for this video, this was kind of requested on the last stream that I did, but I'm going to be giving you guys my review and thoughts and opinions on the free rewards that we get from the current Stardust Memory Part 2 story event. So we're going to be taking a look at the 3 mobile suits that you can earn for free, as well as the free Defender pilot that you can also get as well from playing through the event. And before we go ahead and get started, you guys know the drill. If you enjoy what you see on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, notification bell, like or dislike, and comment down below if you've built up these units. What do you think so far? And also, did you use your SP coins on any one of them? Let me know what you guys think down below. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm actually going to pivot and go into the pilot first because we got one free pilot from this event, which is going to be the Defender Anavel Gato. So this Anavel Gato has some pretty solid defense at 617. I do have this one at max level. You guys see how that looks like. Don't forget, we are going to be having the ability to SP the pilots starting on the 16th of the month, so he could potentially be a good contender for that. And the reason being is because if we take a look at his skills, he has 2 really good ones for a defender, which is high speed, enabling him to be able to position himself a little bit further depending on the need of the battle, and also HP repair level 2, allowing him to restore his HP by 40%. I always say it when it comes to these defender styled units, even to some degree, like your attackers and supporters, HP repair is helpful because the longer you stay alive, the better chances you are going to be clearing that stage because you still have access to that unit. All right. And then also for his abilities, if we take a look at it here, he has support defense. Whenever he uses it, he increases his own defense by 15%. He also has an innate passive that already gives him an additional 15% defense, and he gets an additional support defense, so this guy can defend twice if he's piloting units of the Stardust Memory. If we take a look at that particular series, this is going to be the selection that you have. Yes, I get it. It is restricted to Stardust Memory itself, but I still think there's some really good defenders. First of all, I see 2 right there that you can earn for free. There's also one from the Gacha that you can get right over there. So if you have access to those, I'd say that this guy is a pretty solid defender overall. Great skills and good passive. So all in all, the pilot, I would say, gets I'm gonna say like a good B+ to A- if I were to give him like a letter grading for this particular free pilot. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into the event because I do want to take a look at the particular units here. We're gonna start things off first with this one. This is going to be the attacker version, the SSR attacker of the GP03. There is a Defender UR version currently in the banner. Okay. And we're always going to take a look at it with its SP coin statistics. As you could see right there, not nearly as impressive if you didn't SP it for an attacker. The 2 things that stand out to me, obviously, are going to be its 5 range DPS skill, as well as its map ability. If we take a look at what they do right here, it has detonation cord, which is literally exactly similar to its UR Defender counterpart. It's one of those AoE attacks where it hits whatever is in range of those tiles, and it also moves itself. So this could be very useful, especially for repositioning. I actually really like it. I love these type of map attacks where like you attack and you move, kind of similar to like the free Master Gundam or the free Phoenix Gundam. These are all fantastic AoE attacks. And then afterwards, its Mega Beam Cannon has a decent power at 4,800. The thing that stands out is obviously going to be that 5 range, which is nice. The farther you are from the enemy, the greater the weapon power. And when it comes to these long-range type DPS units, it's always generally much easier to use versus like your melee-styled units. But all in all, pretty cool skills in my opinion. If you take a look at the abilities here, it has increased attack, increased max HP, and it also has damage mitigation from beam range weapons, reducing damage taken by 40%, which is always nice. In terms of its tags, it has access to UC series, test type, protagonist, EFSF, which is extremely flexible, and as well as unstoppable. It's part of Stardust Memory, and it's also part of Mobile Suit Gundam. It also does have the exact same functionality as the UR counterpart, which is the ability to change forms. Now, mind you, this one has a little bit of a caveat compared to the UR version. This one transforms when HP falls to 0 during battle, and also your vigor has to be max or higher. So you just got to make sure you have that other condition fulfilled, and then afterwards, it essentially ejects itself and transforms into this. Not much I can say about this, though. I mean, it's pretty pathetic. I mean, compared to the UR version, obviously, the UR version at least, it's kind of like an SSR graded version of the Gundam GP03 Stamen. This one is, I mean, that's really bad attack, but I get it. It's like a second lifeline for an attacker. I still think it's a useful ability. Its actual skills, it loses that 5 range. It loses the AoE, obviously. This one wants you to be closer to the enemy, so as much as possible, you don't want this thing to die and become this, but if it does happen, because it can happen, especially with the harder maps and everything like that, then you get access to this. Its abilities, you know, at least they still kept it with attack 10% as well as max HP 5%. The stats are pretty pathetic, though. I will say the only thing that probably this thing stands out compared to its better version before it becomes this is the terrain capability, because as you can see, this thing is only functionable in space, so it can't be in the air, it can't be anywhere else. At least its other version can be in other terrain, right? But still not the greatest. You definitely don't want to get to this point if you're going to be using this unit. You want to try to stay here as much as possible. It's just that this one is pretty terrain locked compared to the other one. So all in all, I do think for a free attacker that essentially has a second lifeline, it is solid. Would I SP this though? Again, the second lifeline is cool, but it gets significantly weaker. So yes, attackers do have your priority when it comes to like limit breaking and using your precious SP coins. But now that we know that we're able to SP our pilots, we don't know if it's going to use the exact same currency, but if it is, I would hold off on SPing this one. I don't think this attacker is quite worth your SP coins, even though attacking type units benefit from it the most with the stat increases and things like that. But all in all, I'd say it's solid. If I were to give it a letter grading, B-, B. You guys want my opinion on that? But yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions on the free attacker GP03. Moving on, we're going to take a look at the SSR Defender Neue Ziel. Thank you to a comment in my previous video that told me how to pronounce this properly. So I believe it's German, so it's like Neue Ziel, if I'm saying that correctly. So we're going to take a look at it at fully SP. It has really good HP for an SSR unit at over 120k. And for some reason, they gave it a decent amount of attack for an SSR Defender, almost hitting 9,000, which is interesting, I would like to say. Terrain capability is pretty terrible. You can only use this thing in space. But again, what the cool thing about that, the whole terrain thing, though, is that a majority of stages, as we've seen, tend to be in space. But if you come across some of the other terrain, can't use this thing, unfortunately. The skills that stand out to me are going to be that map attack and that 4 range skill. And if we take a look at them here, the map attack covers a wide area, and it also afflicts a debuff, decreasing beam power by 20%. It's all right. It's solid. It applies to multiple enemies, and if you're looking for AoE, this unit has it. It also has the deflection type mega particle cannon. This is going to be its strongest skill. It has a pretty solid power for an SSR unit at 5,520, and it does have an attack down of 30%. So I'd say this is a pretty good debuff for an SSR unit, for a free SSR unit specifically, and the power on it is actually pretty solid. It's not at a 5 range, so it doesn't have the max range that we've seen on a lot of the other type of, attacking type, the attacks like this, but 4 range is pretty good in my opinion. And then afterwards, we take a look at its abilities, max HP, the increased attack for some reason, why it has that for a defender, and it does have mitigation from beam range weapons, reducing damage taken by 40%. It is a large machine. Unfortunately, there's no shield defense, which is unfortunate. And then afterwards, in terms of its tags, it has UC Series Unstoppable, which is a really good tag. Test Type, which has gotten a little bit more value, especially we have another Test Type ship. It's also part of Xeon and Rival, so building around it is not going to be too difficult. It can complement the UR attacker Neue Ziel because it does have that functionality of increased attack with more Xeon units, so it could be part of like a Xeon team if you want to build one, and it's part of the Stardust Memory and Mobile Suit Gundam series. So all in all, I would say this is a pretty, again, solid unit. Would I use my SP coins on this one? Now, defenders are second priority when it comes to your SP coins, but for this one, probably not. I personally wouldn't. I think it's fine the way that it is. It's even without the SP coins. I mean, it still has over 100k HP. Its attack is lower, but you're not bringing this thing for its DPS. You're bringing it to defend. I would put the free Anavolgato Defender on it if you are looking for a free pilot as well. But all in all, this one is solid, but I wouldn't waste my SP coins on it unless it's like one of your absolute favorites. Okay, finally, we're going to take a look at the free attacker GP04. So it's interesting they gave us 2 free attackers for this particular story event. I actually think this one is probably the best of the 3, even though the other attacker has a second lifeline. But as we've seen, it becomes really terrible when you reach its other form. But as we can see right here, this one has a solid attack of 11k. I'm not sure if this is factoring the additional 7%, so that should be higher. That's a little bit higher, which I would say is pretty cool. In terms of its actual skills, it has a 5 range DPS skill, which I really like. And then if you take a look at its passives, it has attack 10%. It has a conditional one, giving it an additional 7% attack and defense if Vigor is max or higher. And if Vigor is supercharge or higher, it has increased crit rate. So this thing has a higher chance to crit. For a free unit, I think that's really good. Its long beam rifle has a pretty okay power, I would say, at 5,040, but it does have a range of 5 for better positioning for long-range combat and has increased critical damage by 30%. We already know that at Supercharge, it has a 20% chance of being able to crit more, and now you're adding in that added critical damage by 30%, which is always nice. Beam Rifle is standard, and it does have Beam Saber, which this one, if you have your HP higher, you're going to be dealing a little bit more damage with up to a 10% increase to your weapon power. But most of the time, you're probably going to be using this thing for the long beam rifle. It has shield mechanism, which is awesome, and it has better terrain capability at the start compared to the other free attacker that we got, which I really do like. And if we take a look at its tags, it has UC series, EFSF, which is always nice. You could put the free Ko Uraki SSR pilot from the Part 1 event for this. It also has test type, and it has lightning fast and protagonist, and part of the Stardust Memory and Mobile Suit Gundam. So all in all, amongst the 3, would I SP this particular one? I say this one would be worth your SP coins. It has really good attack. It's a little bit higher if you factor in the conditional passive, and it has overall, good range, solid attack power. I'd say this one is definitely worth your SP coins. Now, to put it into perspective though, while this event is currently live, we still have this available, which we have access to gain the Bjarlant Custom 02, which, in my opinion, is the far better choice for your SP coins if you're still on the fence for these free SSR attackers. This thing is really good, and I encourage you guys, since the event is still live, if you can, try to get extra copies so you have at least 2 max limit break ones, because this thing is really good. With its conditional passive, its attack reaches like 13k, which is quite crazy for a free SSR attacker. So if, in my opinion, yes, the Stardust Memory ones are pretty good. I would say GP04 is probably your best bet and best choice to use your coins on. But if you're still looking for like a free attacker, I'm going to go back and say that one, the Bjarlant Custom 02, is probably the best choice, and it's available for the next 3 days or so. But all in all, that's going to be my thoughts and opinions, guys, on the free units that you can earn from Stardust Memory Part 2. I really love what they did with this event and all the quality of life that they've added to the game. I'm going to be making a separate video on that because it looks like they're definitely listening to our feedback and making it easier to earn more diamonds and also give us, free units that are actually really, really solid. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everybody.